to Children's Chapel. So in the readings we had today, there are two very familiar phrases that just jumped out at me, because I've heard them. The first one is, "You will reap what you will sow," followed by "young lady." And the other one is, "I'm shaking the dust off my feet." I actually had somebody do that to me once. Like, they were so angry, walked out of my house and shook, like they were trying to shake off an amorous Pomeranian. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" Like, "I shake my foot at you, I shake the dust off." And I'm so familiar with those phrases, again, because I've heard them, and they are a part of our culture, right, our society. And the problem with that is that we think we know them, so we don't bother learning more about it, because I know it. And then we realize that this gospel is actually instructions. It's a test run. And guess who it's a test run for? Us, right? Because, and I'll tell you how I know this, right? When Thomas, we call the doubting Thomas, but he was actually a scientist, and he said, "I want proof." And Jesus said, "Go ahead, I'm going to do your experiments because science is good." And then Jesus said, "You're blessed because you can see me, so I expect you to do the right thing. There are people coming who won't see me, and they're blessed too." And who is that? So this is our tradition and our invitation. And when I thought about that, I got a little scared. Because I don't have it in me to shake somebody off like that. Just don't. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I was thinking about it, and my grandson, Rylan, popped into my head. Rylan and I have very many interesting conversations. He is now 4 and quite a scholar. And we were at Jace's, his little brother's 3rd birthday party. And the rule in birthday parties is, once the piñata is broken, any candy that you have found, you are allowed to eat. Parents run around encouraging sharing because the less their child eats and the more they share, the less likely they are to be on the receiving end of vomit later. So Rylan comes up to me, and there's no parents to be found, they're hiding. He says, "Muddy Puddle, I have a red lollipop, and I tried to give it to my cousin Brody, and Brody didn't want it, so can I eat it now?" Now, I try to be respectful of my son and his wife and their parenting, so I'm like, well, I don't know, I don't want to make a decision on that. I think that requires a higher authority than me, like a parent. And he does this. "Well, you're a parent, and I'm asking you, so can I have it or not?" And I was like, "Wow, that's really smart, yeah, you can have it." You know, so I tell Connor, and he goes, "You gave it the lollipop, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," because that was really smart. And then Rylan, who knows he thinks he's tricked everybody, he says, "Muddy Puddle has given me this lollipop and said that I could eat it." And he said, "No, that's okay, because," he goes, "you offered it to Brody?" "Yes." "And Brody didn't want it?" "No." "Then it's still yours." "Oh. So this is what Jesus is saying. We're offering something to somebody. If they don't want it, they keep whatever they have, and we keep whatever we have. What Jesus is offering to us is a walk. Do we want to take it? Because the first thing we have to think about is, what does Jesus stand for, really? Like, what if you think of Jesus, what is the first thing you think of? Anybody?
Love.
Oh yeah, cool, love. Love is good. Okay. So love. Love is easy. Except when it's not. Except when people are really different, right? And how do I get through to other people? How could I possibly explain Jesus' love? And Jesus has sent out 70 people. He said, "Bring a friend and go out." Those 70 people were all different. We don't even know if they were all Jewish, because he was a rock star at this point, right? He's got quite a following. So all these different people were supposed to communicate the same message of love. Well, if I decide to put a face on this story, I have to put my face on it. And if Jesus was going to send me out and say, go tell people about love and use your gifts, I would be a storyteller. Jesus was a storyteller. He was a good one. And I'm a kind of a good storyteller, right? And one of the things that I know as a storyteller is that there are universal truths that go beyond the way that we see God. And each one of us is going to approach the love of Christ and the love of our fellow man based on our universal stories, on our cultural stories. For us in particular, one that immediately springs to mind is Abraham and Isaac, right? Now, nobody in the world that I know of anyway is practicing human sacrifice anymore. But at one point we all did. Our ancestors, every single one of them, practiced human sacrifice. But we have it written down that God said not to do that anymore. God said, I will provide. Because I'll tell you what, if you think that anybody was surprised when Abraham went up in the mountain with not enough food for 2 people, they weren't. They were saddened. They were horrified, perhaps. Sarah wasn't laughing, but they were not surprised. What surprised them was when God said, I will provide. I don't want you to kill anybody on my behalf. And while this is a story from our tradition, it happened universally. There are stories in other cultures where God said, stop, be kind. Another universal saying is, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You will find that in every single culture and religion. It is a universal truth that this is what the universe asks of us. Creation stories. There are multiple creation stories from each and every culture. And in each one, man names things on earth and takes responsibility for the care of the earth. In an Australian creation story, the person who does the naming is not Adam or Eve. The first woman comes from the ocean, and she not only names things, but she sees what the children of God are doing and gives them each a separate language that coincides with the tasks they have and the regions they live in and the lives they live. And this was the beginning of language. Australia has more languages than any other country or continent in the world. And it wasn't seen as a bad thing. Which brings us to Pentecost, where God does not create a universal language. God allows every single person at Pentecost to hear about the love of Christ in their own language. Because God not only respects our differences, God relishes our differences. And I can tell you this, anybody who tries to take away your story, anybody who tries to say that what you have done does not matter, anybody who tries to erase you, it means you harm. We have to accept and embrace each other's differences. That's what Jesus did. When he sent them out with their own talents, their own cultures, their own stories. And then again, these could be cultural stories, they could be personal stories, they could be regional stories and universal stories, and so that people go out. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about my own stories, right? I'm thinking about my sister and my friend, Boyd, who made me laugh all the time, who was probably one of the best Frankenfurters I've ever played, Janet in Rocky Horror. I think of my uncle, I think of my friend Thomas, but I also think of how Boyd died because he got AIDS at a time when it didn't have the face of a child. And so we didn't really encourage the research. My sister died, became an ancestor because she didn't have the right insurance. And my mother was a military wife for 30 years. She was from Scotland, and towards the end of her life, she could not, her hands were so bent that they couldn't get a fingerprint for her, so she didn't have a green card. My mother was an undocumented alien. And we got telemarketing calls asking her if she wanted to go to jail, if she wanted to be deported. And at this point, she couldn't even get out of bed. Now, we straightened it out, but she lived in fear for at least the last few months of her life. And as I'm thinking about my personal stories, I was so filled with rage and ready to rush out and change the world and shake them and keep them and go, God loves you, God loves everybody. Now, I used to go to Virginia a lot. Route 13. Route 13 is full of signs. Driving down Route 13, there was always one sign, and it would change year by year. And actually, there was a battle going on. So the first time I drive by, it's a wooden sign, and it says the N-word, and then go home. I'm like, the N-word was spelled wrong. It only had one G. And I was able to laugh at them because, they're stupid. Then the next year you drive by, and it was a black-owned business. Then the next year it had been burned, and the painted sign for that. So finally, Connor and I were driving. Jesus says, take a friend. And I'm like, dude, the painted sign is back up. Let's go out. We have to document this. And as we are, a police car starts driving by like a shark. It's just back and forth. The car goes, if you think I'm getting out of this car, you're crazy. And I'm like, see, this is why Jesus says take a friend, because sometimes they are the voice of reason, right? And I thought about that because I saw another sign, beautifully done, like a road sign. And it said alligator Alcatraz. And at that moment, I lost my anger, and I realized the world doesn't need my anger. The world needs my empathy. The world needs me to be willing to say, yeah, I'll take the red lollipop, and I'll walk this walk. The world needs me to choose. And as I decide to take this walk that Jesus has asked me to take, I am given a choice. We are all given a choice. When he sends you out, you agree to go, or you don't. And when Jesus says, shake the dust off your feet and say, I reject you, he doesn't mean angry. He simply means that some people will not hear what you have to say. Do not waste your time with it. And don't let it bother you. Shake it off and stay focused on what it is you're here to do. Stay focused on the walk you're here to take. So you can be kind to those you disagree with. You can see the wrong and take steps towards it, or you can decide that this is not my fight. And the very least, that the universal truth is don't hurt anybody. Harm none. Treat your neighbor as yourself. It's the very least we're asking. And if you can't do more than that, I can shake the dust off my feet and still shake your hand. I know what walk I will take. And I know that as I take that walk, again, when we think of people rejecting us, we think that they disagree with us or that they have a different belief. But I have had people say to me, you can't possibly understand how I feel because you're not gay or you're not black or you're not a man. And I will not argue with you that way because that is your truth. My truth is that I will shake your opinion off and I will continue to do the work that Christ has, that I've agreed to do. I'm not even going to put it on Jesus, it's on me. I agreed to do it. And as I was getting ready to come here this morning, wondering how I was going to wrap things up, I had been watering the lawn and a sparrow died. It was so scary in my house. And it flew around, and then it just flew right into the door and fell, and it broke its neck. It was lying on the floor, and it went from such movement and life, terrified, but movement and life, to so still. And I could hear the other birds in the garden. And I remember being told, God loves even these, the smallest of these. I love even the smallest of these. And we are given such a short time in this beautiful garden. We have to share it. We have to walk together. Who are we to make this short time a terrifying one, a time of tears for any person? Because if God cares about the sparrow, then so should we.